SEGA Saturn SHIRO.
Hey everybody, what's up? Another Friday SHIRO show, and I've got Danthrax with me today because Pat is, Pat couldn't make it, unfortunately. He's super popular and he's got a bunch of holiday parties to go to. So, not me, wah wah. No, I have been to some holiday parties, but not as many as Pat. He's just been back to back to back.
He's the party animal.
He's a party
SHIRO.
animal. Yeah, I think, by the way, Dan, give me a mic check 1 2 3 because I think I turned your mic up unnecessarily.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay. There you go. I just want to make sure that you're not peaking there. Okay, so yeah, but I'm really happy to have you on, Dan. You're normally on in voice, but you're here and everybody can see you. So thanks for helping me out.
Be
my
man inside
co-pilot.
the TV.
Yeah, and we've got, of course, Anthony as usual, Night of Dragon in the chat, in the Discord chat, and we've got. I'm not going to be looking at the comments on the YouTube video, so if you guys can help me out with that, that would be great. But let me see here. What have you been up to? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My phone was ringing like right then, and I had a brain fart, but I rejected the call.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, right?
You know, we had Christmas.
Yeah,
we had Christmas last weekend.
How was your Christmas? What did you pick up?
It was good. I got, and I think I posted pictures of this in the SHIRO Discord a little bit, but I got, it was of the Felicia figure.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, that I got for my birthday, because my birthday is right before Christmas. I love that thing. It is so cool. I love Darkstalkers. I love playing Darkstalkers on Saturn, and I think the first time I played it was an arcade cabinet that was at a campground that my parents took me to all the time. And I just thought the designs are super cool. Yeah. And I had to pick Felicia because, you know, she's like this cool cat girl. Yeah. So now I have this awesome like 1/7 scale figure. Yeah. It's very fancy.
That's incredible. So your birthday, when is your birthday?
It's the 20th.
The 20th. Okay, mine's the 28th. I just celebrated as well. So shouts to December, birthdays that kind of get forgotten because of Christmas. I don't know if
the thing that's funny is my mom's birthday is around Christmas too, and her parents would make her pick a Christmas present out from under the tree with Christmas wrap on it, and they'd say, "That's your birthday present this year. Open it up. Happy birthday." Yeah, she hated it. So when she had a baby,
too. Yeah,
well, of course. And so when she had a baby that was another Christmas baby near Christmas, she was determined to always give me birthday parties with separate birthday presents that were in birthday wrap. So I've always appreciated that she's given that to me. So I haven't had to deal with that whole
wonderful
Christmas baby syndrome too much.
Yeah,
I feel kind of bad for you guys.
Yeah, well,
thanks.
It's my dad's birthday is in December too. I'm a middle child, and my birthday is in December, so I've got a little baggage there. But no, it's cool. Actually, my wife kind of goes out of her way to make it special for me because she knows that it's like and sometimes people just forget to even wish me happy birthday because Christmas, New Year's, everything, it's just like sandwiched right in the middle there. There's so much going on. And people are like traveling or they're at parties and stuff like that. I get it. So I don't hold it against anybody. It's just like, one of those things. I think Death Engine in our Discord community, it has the same birthday as me. So shouts to Death Engine. Happy birthday, Death Engine. Check it out. This is one of the presents that my wife got me, and it's a SEGA Saturn shirt that she got me from Kohl's. And I was like, when she told me she got it from Kohl's, I had to like look it up. Are you for real? And yep, she got it from Kohl's. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like Saturn, I would expect, Nintendo, Mario Kart, all that stuff, maybe even Sonic the Hedgehog, but Saturn, come on. So I was really not only stoked to get this shirt, but just stoked to find that she got it through like a mainstream outlet, not like some
Saturn has finally made it.
Saturn has finally made it. So it's more than 25 years. It's what, 28 years on. Saturn has finally made the mainstream in America.
Yeah. By the way, in chat, Laura Trainer says happy birthday, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, Laura, tell Pat that we love him and we miss him.
Yeah.
We've missed him now for a couple shows, but we understand it's the holidays and everything like that. Anyway, I just saw Pat post a picture on his profile of his like weight loss journey, you know, because that's something that he's been pretty open about, like that he's been working out and stuff like that. And now I'm jealous because like he's lost a ton of weight and I'm like, dang it, I really need to get on that train. Like I bought a pair of really good running shoes and I just haven't used them yet. But
good for him.
That's going to be my New Year's resolution, as cliche as it sounds, to start using those running shoes. I just have to get up early and do it in the morning, you know?
Yeah, you gotta just push yourself through it even on those days when you do not feel like doing it at all.
I've got like an app and stuff, you know. I'm gonna do like the couch to 5K thing, and you know, do some weightlifting, you know, some
Nice.
muscle building, not muscle building, but you know, strength training is what I'm talking about. So yeah,
like more toning.
Exactly, because it's not, I mean, cardio doesn't really burn fat so much. It just kind of helps with your overall cardiovascular health, which you know, anybody could use. But
yeah. Well, my New Year's resolution is to try out one of my Christmas gifts this year, which was not Saturn related, but it was Sega related. I got Test Drive 6 for the Dreamcast.
Oh wow, cool.
Okay, cool. It is on camera.
Yeah, we can see it.
Seconds.
Test Drive 6.
So I kind of wanted this because when I got a Sega Genesis in 1992, one of the two games I got with it was Test Drive 2, The Duel. And so even though it's like not a great game, it does do some cool, unique things with driving where you know, you're running from cops while you're racing on streets that random people are driving on as well, and you're running along cliffs and stuff like that. Test Drive has its own vibe going on, and so I've always kind of had a soft spot in my heart for Test Drive. And the only other time Test Drive appeared on Sega console was with Dreamcast and Test Drive 6. And then there were a couple other little spin-offs, which I have one of those too. But yeah, all at 6. So my girlfriend Pudgy Bunny came through.
That's awesome.
So thank you very much.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. I got one of those Hallmark Sega Genesis ornaments for Christmas.
Nice.
I got some new earbuds, which were nice. And what else? Oh, my wife got me like this really cool. It's like for PCs and game consoles and stuff like that. It's like a dust blowing thing, but it's like extreme. Like this thing will get any kind of dust out, and it just plugs in USB-C. But it's because I was using the canned air, and I'd have to constantly rebuy that from Costco. And she just got me this gadget that's just like, it blows harder than canned air. Wow. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, nice. Anything else to report? Or we can get right into the news, I guess. Yeah,
we can get in on the news. We got a lot this week because we've got that the 28th SEGA Saturn game competition going on over at the Sega Extreme forums.
And so stuff has just been pouring in, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, let me bring up the browser here. We can talk Saturn news here. We're gonna go all the way down to. Did we talk Steam rejects Yabasan SHIRO? We did, didn't we? Or did we?
Yeah, that was last week. I think I got that
so
under the wire.
That was bizarre, but
Friday.
yeah. So we got that under the wire. Okay, so since then, yeah, a lot has happened. I put up a video, like playthrough of XL2's Unreal. His how do you say that in French? Irreal?
So I think it's Irreal.
Irreal?
Irreal.
Irreal? Yeah. Okay. And
probably the R needs to be a little different. I took Spanish. I didn't take French.
Okay.
Irreal, maybe something like that.
But I mean, you know, this is incredible. Not only does it look and feel like, you know, 32-bit, very, very true to the game, but what's so amazing is that they basically had to recreate everything, you know, from scratch. Like they were able to use Trench Broom, build a lot of the assets. But I mean, you know, this is XL2's engine, heavily modified because of the being able to crunch everything into RAM, you know, I guess. Was one of the biggest challenges. And then, of course, Corvus Deus and Ponut, I think the former handled a lot of the models, like the 3D model. And then Ponut, of course, and the animation, exactly. And then Ponut's, what is it? Help me out. Pone Sound?
Pone Sound,
yeah, for the 3D stereo. Like, it would be like I guess kind of like Dolby 3D stereo or like the Q sound. That's their version of that, and it really does work. You know, if you have a good set of cans on, it feels like the sound is coming from all around.
Yeah, XL2 recommends that people play this demo with headphones on, which I have not yet, but I do have some pretty nice speakers set up in my living room around my actual Sega Saturn console, and I played it on that, and I could still hear, sound coming from a particular direction, and then it would turn with me.
Exactly.
That is very cool.
Yeah, with a high-powered set of speakers, stereo speakers, I've tried it, and it does work, and it's even more immersive with headphones, believe it or not. But yeah, it's incredible. Just like, I get that there is no plan to continue like making more of this because they don't want to get slapped with a lawsuit or anything like that. They want to avoid any kind of legal ramifications, but just showing that this could be done, and I think XL2 did mention that that he'll consider releasing the source or to allow folks to do mods.
I think he's maintained that for a while, that he is willing to release the source code for his engine that he's used for this and for Hellslave. I think his big hang-up, at least he has said this is why, is because he wants to clean it up, because it's probably got a lot of spaghetti code in there and uncommented code.
I mean, there's code going all the way back to Sonic Z Dream, he said.
Right.
When he like hardly knew how to program. He's like, there are lines of code in there from all the way back, so it's crazy.
So I think he's thinking about how other people will be looking at the code and wants to spend some time cleaning it up.
Right.
Probably thinking if he does that, then people aren't going to be bugging him constantly about, hey, what's this do? What's this do? What does this mean?
Right.
So
I mean, he mentions glitches. He mentions, a number of glitches and collision issues. The frame rate could be improved significantly. Let's see, it's far from optimized at the moment. I imagine, judging from history, he got this in under the gun for the competition, but we're probably going to receive, like a fine-tuned.
He's been updating it.
Yeah, exactly. He has been updating it because folks who downloaded it when he put it up were able to like submit, I guess you could say like casual bug reports in our Discord chats, and he immediately was able to like remedy some of those things. So yeah. Does mention the challenge of fitting everything into the Saturn's RAM. Massive changes had to be made to the engine in order to make the waterfalls, possible. Using a RAM cart, which was thought might have helped, actually made it run at like 2 frames per second, and because it was so unreliable, I guess the connection was so unreliable or whatever, so just decided it would be better to not have it rely on a RAM cart, which I think is a good idea anyway, because not everybody has a RAM cart, and folks might be using like the pseudo cart, which may or may not work. It's probably just better to try to squeeze it and make it run on stock hardware. Which the game,
I believe it was the speed of the RAM cart was unreliable.
Oh,
he was getting inconsistent results.
I thought he said something though about the connector or something like that. No? Okay.
I mean, he had those issues as well.
Okay.
So it could be both.
But even under the best case conditions, you're saying there would still be issues with speed of the RAM cart.
Yeah, because the RAM cart is like either 4 or 16 times slower than the lower work RAM, so it was really slow for him to access it the way he needed to access it. Which
is basically like streaming constantly, I was really, though, the way that he uses you're out in large open areas and you have huge architecture or a huge mountainside, and the texture changes constantly as you get closer to it, so like the level of detail, I guess. I was really impressed with that, and of course the lighting and everything is just really awesome. It was
mind-blowing to step outside of that ship into the first open area and just see the draw distance. There's no fog, essentially. There's nothing getting cut off. You can just see until you reach the end of the ravine, and then you turn to your left and there's that big waterfall, and there's another gigantic mountain over there, and that's just wild that he got that running and a consistent frame rate, no less.
And there were comments
so big
online.
props to him.
Absolutely. I mean, there were some comments online from folks who were like, "Oh, I don't think this is that impressive," or "Oh, I've just looked at it compared to the actual game." I'm like, okay, you do realize though, and that's the thing. People's memories are so foggy when it comes to this stuff. Unreal was a 1998 PC game that most PCs couldn't even run. You know what I'm saying? Like, like couldn't run properly. You know. And if you are looking at like a YouTube Let's Play of it right now, you're probably looking at it running on a beefy computer that's able to handle it at max settings. Right?
Most PCs at the time couldn't actually run it.
Right. It was a benchmark.
Like
it was a benchmark app like Crysis. You know, it was like if you had to spend like $4,000 or more, $5,000 on a PC to run this thing when it was released. And I mean, we're comparing it to a 32-bit console that came out in '94. You know, so I mean, the fact that he's getting all of this stuff working is just absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and I mean, compare how this Uriel demo looks to other first-person shooters or just 3D games that are on the Saturn that were released commercially. You know, how does it look compared to, your Power Slave and, I even compare it to Doom. It looks real good next to Doom. Like, come on.
Oh, absolutely. But it's up there with the lobotomy games, no question. Absolutely. And might even surpass them in several areas. You know, it really just depends on what area. You know, definitely it would not be out of place at all in like a lobotomy soft game for sure. And then on top of that, I'm just trying to remember. Oh, so he said the game achieves about 1,500 quads max per frame, and then dips down below that. But I mean, it's pretty impressive. Let me see what else. So he did mention the possibility of releasing the code to folks to do mods with or whatever. I mentioned that first level, you could easily turn that into like a digital haunted house on the Saturn, put a bunch of like creepy, I don't know. It was a way out there comment, but I was just thinking like it has the vibe already. You could easily turn that space into like a Halloween game if you wanted to. He worked on this entire project for about 4 months at an average of 1 hour per day. So that's just insane. And then I did hear from John Linneman that he is planning on doing some kind of analysis on this for DF Retro. So nice. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, that'll be cool. Anyway, shouts to all three of those guys, XL2, Corvus Deus, and if I'm saying that right, and then Ponut for their contributions to this.
If it's French, it'd be Corvus Dieu, right?
Corvus Dieu? Okay, Corvus Dieu.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I'm not great with those kind of pronunciation. Okay. I'm thinking like Deus Ex, but then I just read it wrong. Okay, so next up we've got, and you know what? All of this news is kind of like out of order. Like, it's just how I wrote these stories up.
We can skip ahead to the other homebrew game that you wrote about.
We could. Yeah, we definitely could actually. So Bridget Bishop is this charming Saturn adventure game. I wrote about that. I have to just humble myself to admit that being a Saturn centric news site where we literally cover Saturn news every week, I am embarrassed to say that I slept on this for 6 months. This game was released in forums to play in May of 2022, and the final release candidate was released and accessible in June, along with this video right here that you can see.
I had no idea.
It stayed quiet. It was just Joe Engine forums, Sega Extreme forums, and perhaps like the Sega Extreme Discord in the project discussion chat.
Did they post about it in the Sega Extreme forums? If they did, I would have noticed. I don't know. Well,
Emerald said they did, but I didn't see.
Okay,
I didn't see that. What I found was, let's see, I'll click through.
And I mean, to be fair, with the Joe Engine forums, the Bridget Bishop post is like their first post on there in a long time, so it's not like someplace that we would normally be looking to for news. It's kind of surprising they posted there at all.
But I found it in a list, believe it or not, I found it in a list of Saturn projects, and among those Saturn projects were like Ray's Tank Game and Ray's Scary Game, and there were a few others that I recognized in there. And I was like, okay, so this was anyway. what's even more embarrassing is that it's an incredible little game. Like it's actually like really good. They did a great job. So Sega Saturno is a like basically like a Spanish outlet, news forum or whatever. Nuevo Juego para Saturn, Bridget Bishop. They're a Spanish developer. And they happen to make this game available in PAL and NTSC and in Spanish and English, which is amazing. They programmed it for Java, actually. The whole idea came about when they were programming it for programming a Java game, and they got a hold of Joe Engine and realized that they could just easily port it, I guess. They were able to easily program it and get it on Saturn because of Joe Engine. And it turns out that the Saturn version reached completion first. I don't even think the Java game, the original Java game, is complete.
Yeah, and I think they've said that they're not really interested in expanding it anymore, at least in the near time being. But I really hope they do, because it's so cool. It's not very long, but I mean, as far as a homebrew game goes, it's got a decent length to it. It took me about half an hour to get through the whole thing. And it plays. Minutes. We should probably say real quick. Yeah, what it plays like. It's a 3D game, and it's sort of like a point and click adventure game, but you're not pointing and clicking. You're actually moving your little witch character around her house.
Right.
And you are going up to different points of interest and hitting A on them and getting things in your inventory and talking to characters and trying to solve some puzzles, because this witch is apparently kind of mischievous, and she's accidentally turned her cat into was it a frog, I think?
Right. Yeah.
And she's got to try to turn him back by finding different ingredients to do potions that actually backfire, and she's got to find some different ingredients.
All she can find are poor substitutions for the actual ingredients that are required.
So yeah, it
results in a lot of mayhem, I guess, that I don't want to spoil for folks if they want to play it, because it's sweet, short and sweet. You could easily play this in one sitting, 25 minutes, start to end. But it's not incredibly shallow, for being that short. It's like packed with puzzles that are logical, little mini games thrown in there, cute graphics, character exposition, like actual character building, albeit brief, but you've got like characters and they all have like personalities and stuff. It's really cool. He based this game off of Jack in the Dark, which was a demo, a promo demo for the second Alone in the Dark game. Jack is Back. They I guess they released this as like a free promotional demo, and it was just kind of like Little Witch in a store, or like in a shop, doing much of the same stuff, going around solving little puzzles and stuff like that. And it is very reminiscent of that, albeit no, I mean, I guess that it is, both characters are like flat shaded polygons, but yeah, so I did put up a little video playthrough. It was like 25 minutes. Folks can check it out if that's easier, they want to just see a playthrough. But I highly recommend folks, if you have an emulator, or if you have an ODE or some discs, you can burn it too. It's available through Sega Extreme now, through the 28th anniversary game competition, or you can click on the original YouTube video here that Fran Matsuzaka, I think that's what they're going through on YouTube, is Fran Matsuzaka. Also, Francisco Javier Del Pino Cuesta is the programmer, and EGS Studio Games is the website where they have like all these different games.
Yeah, I was looking at that. They've made a lot of games and hacks or something, or ports of other games. Yeah, this is their first Sega Saturn project, but they've got a lot of other stuff.
Definitely, yeah. Golgo 13, Greenpeace, the game, Hardcore Fight, King of Fighters, Flames of Courage, V4, V5. Yeah, so Smash TV. Wing Warriors was another one that looked really impressive. This was BlackBerry, Java. Was there a Game Boy version? I saw one of their games that had like a Game Boy version or something like that. Not sure though. Maybe that's a different one than I saw. But anyway, yeah, so definitely felt like I should apologize. Like I reached out to them and I just said, I'm so sorry for like that I didn't see this, you know, because I like to give everybody credit, as much credit where credit is due, and let them, you know, and help promote. That's like the whole point of SHIRO, you know, is to help like boost up these projects and help promote what people are doing. So I said, I hope you didn't feel like the entire internet didn't care about this when you released it. And he was like, yeah, actually, like I was kind of surprised that nobody said anything about it. But he was like, maybe I just didn't know the right place to post it, you know?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, we are pretty decently connected on Saturn News here, being a Saturn News site. And if we didn't learn about it for 6 months until we finally put in this competition, then I mean, that does kind of say something about finding the right venues and making enough noise for yourself, which I mean, that is that's tough, you know, as a creator, that you've got to, you know, bang the pots and pans for yourself.
Not everybody that's great at making games is great at like promotion and marketing and stuff like that, right? They're good at, they make games. That's what they do. So it's like, you just got to find, and I mean, it's a learning experience for me too, that I've got to have my ear to the ground in these forums, and I've got to be paying more attention, you know, because, but we will, you know, everything falls through the cracks every now and then, but you know, I'm just glad that we could finally bring it to light and let people know about this game.
Absolutely.
Very, very well made game, and feels very much like a game, you know, that, like a commercial endeavor, just very scaled down, you know, but folks should definitely check it out. Do you know or want to talk about the Burning Rangers password system thing?
We can talk about it for a couple minutes.
We can talk about it. Yeah. So
I had found this news and I brought it to I posted a link about it on the Discord.
And Blue was like, are you going to write an article about
Blue
it?
Moon.
And I knew you were already busy. I knew you were already busy, so I was just like, okay, I'll write it up really quick.
That surprised me. You just like bang that thing out. I'm like, oh, cool.
Well,
Dave's on top of it.
The quality, you might second guess it if you read it. But it, you know, it's just, you know, I stole some content from his blog because it was already so well written, but I reworded some stuff. But yeah, I mean, essentially, Bo Bayless. Am I saying that right? Or Bales? I don't know. Software engineer and writer of Bo Bayless Annex has in the past expressed deep appreciation for Sonic Team's Burning Rangers, having done, you know, extensive articles on it. Oh, wait, wrong link. What is it? Written about it on his blog. There's this high context Burning Rangers article. And it's just, it's a cool article with a lot of links and references. You guys should check out. But
he seems very into this game.
He's very into this game. It's one of those games, kind of like Knights for me, like one that he's explored a lot. And that appreciation ultimately led to the investigation of the game's password system, which it does each time you start a mission. You get a different level map with a different set of survivors. After you finish, you're presented with a password that lets you play again. And this generate system adds to the game's replay value. As a kid, Bayless always wanted to be able to compile a list of every password for the game. So here you got like a screen with Naoto Oshima, right? And there's like a password at the bottom there. That's a little Easter egg there. However, when reaching out to the original designer, the one who wrote Akio Setsumasa, who wrote the password system, he couldn't remember, you know, memory. We're a lot, and that's the thing, like when interviewing these people, you reach out to these people and you're talking about stuff that they did like 30 years ago. It's really hard for them to remember exactly how they programmed something, or, you know, provided him with you know, like a brief list of passcodes that might be of some help in reverse engineering it. But and he ended up reaching out to Andreas Scholl. Am I saying that right? Scholl. Andreas.
I would guess it's pronounced Scholl.
Scholl, yeah. And
Andreas
the same individual
Scholl,
who submitted the Burning Rangers tribute demo to the 2021 Sonic fan games.
Right, now he's working on Nights into Dreams. He's going to remake that in Unity using original art assets.
Crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah, so huge Sonic Team game fan, you can tell. Reached out to him. He's considered the patron saint of Burning Rangers, and working together they were able to basically kind of reverse engineer, or at least start the reverse engineering of the password structure, disassembly and decompilation. And I don't I don't think we have time to like go through this whole thing, but if you want to read up on the technical or just go straight to his blog, you can read more on like what they found. I don't believe it's completely finished, but obviously
there's a couple bits to the system that they're not sure how they work, but for the most part, I guess he can generate working passwords, which is impressive in and of itself.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Yeah. So we will definitely report on that as we find. We'll be following. Keep our ear to the ground on that blog, and when we find out more from them, we will let you guys know. But yeah, if you're a fan of Burning Rangers at all, check this out. It's a really cool game. It's a really neat and unique, quirky game, which is definitely, par for the course when it comes to Sonic Team in the mid-90s. And it has a lot of that like vibrant color and flair, and it pushes the Saturn in a lot of different ways, uses a lot of tricks with the hardware. And it's got a bunch of these little hidden, like, there are less Easter eggs in Burning Rangers, arguably, than Knights, but I love the fact that they put that in there. So it really does add to the replayability, the email system and the passwords and all that extra stuff, the unlockable characters. So folks should definitely check it out. Are you a fan of Burning Rangers by any chance?
It's cool. I have not delved into it a whole lot. I've probably played Knights more than it, and I'm not very good at Knights. I haven't played it enough to be good at it.
Right.
So I've played Burning Rangers a little bit. It is cool. I guess my initial impression was that it's a little tough to get around. It's neat that there's essentially this 3D platformer on the Saturn that uses the 3D analog pad and all that.
Mm.
But it feels like it's gonna rattle apart at the seams at any given moment.
Yeah.
It's just they're holding that thing together with bootlaces and luck. And
yes, it is kind of like
how it keeps playing moment to moment. I do want to get back to it and actually like give it some of a proper playthrough. Because it does do a lot of cool things, and it does deserve that. By the way, it looks like our YouTube stream is conking out here.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it just started loading for me.
I am. It's fine for me.
Might just be me.
It could
Hopefully
just be you.
Just me.
I think
somebody
Anthony
say in the chat whether it's working.
Yeah, let us know. Anthony, is it working for you?
Okay, I reloaded and now it's working.
Is what working? Sorry.
The YouTube stream, because Dan was having issues.
Oh no, yeah, you guys are good on the YouTube stream.
Okay,
looks fine on Lagaware's end, Greg. Okay, hey Greg, how's it going?
Sorry.
Shouts.
False alarm.
We're gonna skip ahead. Okay, we're gonna skip ahead. Wait, what did we skip? Okay, so we talked about Burning Rangers, password system, awesome. Shouts.
Yep, Stellar Assault.
To those guys. Let's talk Stellar Assault. Yeah,
sure.
These crazy people. They're this crazy team of individuals. I don't know. Like, I witnessed this band of rebels form together on Twitter and on our Discord, and I swear, you guys, like, I just can't believe how prolific, how efficient you are. Like, I guess you guys learned a lot through Bulk Slash, because your like workflow and your just like plan of attack and execution. I don't know if the holidays have anything to do with it, or if folks are like, if you have extra time to work on it. But I'm just impressed that in August you held auditions. You made your final casting in October, and then mid-December you slip us up 5 playable levels, including an entire introduction and all of the mission briefings.
Well, yeah, I mean, it probably is experience, because we had all the experience last year of scheduling recording times for the different actresses and actors for Bulk Slash.
Yes.
And and figuring out how to like have your script ready to go, and what the actor is going to need to do what he or she needs to do. Giving some clips of the original Japanese so that they have an idea of kind of what the delivery might be, and having that ready to go for them. And I mean, a lot of that is Lacaware, is Greg, our project lead, our translator. He's also the voice
organization
director. And he like organizes all this stuff for the recordings, and he got really good at it from Bulk Slash as far as scheduling things, and he just started scheduling all of our actors for Stellar Assault real quick once we finally decided, okay, these are our actors, and here's our script, because it did take us a little longer to finalize the script. We didn't get it quite
Right.
copy edited in time to do the to have all the actors chosen.
Mm-hmm.
But once we did, yeah, he just started scheduling people and hopping on Discord. And I mean, because the process really isn't that complicated. What we do, just real simply, we have the actor bring up Audacity, a program called Audacity, on their side, and we make sure a couple of settings are correct as far as the bitrate and that sort of thing. And we give them a copy of their lines that we're going to have them read on this particular day, and then we all hop into a Discord voice channel and we talk about it. Oftentimes with this project, we'll have the actor share their screen through Discord as well, so that we can look and make sure that they have all their settings correct on their screen and everything looks good, and make sure they're not peaking. One of the advantages to having Shadow Mask on the project from the get-go here is that he brings all his audio expertise, and he can sit in on these recording sessions and look at their screen and make sure that everything looks okay. They're not peaking. We're getting the full volume of a waveform, and we're not losing anything because they're too far away from their mic or some setting is wrong. So that's been great, having Shadow Mask on board. And I mean, he's the one who's been then mastering all these. Like Greg will then, after a recording session is done, the voice actor will then save their Audacity project in a Google Drive folder that we've set up for them.
Right.
And then Greg takes that and listens back to all of the takes that they did, picks out the ones he likes the best, and then makes notes. And he will tell Shadow Mask, okay, at this timestamp, I liked this read of this line, and at this timestamp, I want that one. And Shadow Mask will cut them up and work them a little bit to make them sound good, and convert them into a SEGA Saturn AIF file, is the kind that is being used for Stellar Assault. Right. And then we originally were going to have me make the patches with those files, pop them in there, but I mean, it's not like you need any special expertise to use the SEGA Saturn patcher. It's so easy to use. So Shadow Mask actually started doing that himself. And then I started testing it on different emulators and on my satiator, on my real Saturn. So I guess I can help with that. And then, so we do that and make sure that all the everything was sounding okay. Some of the clips were actually getting cut off at the end. For some reason, they were just a little too long. So we had to tell Shadow Mask, okay, these 5 lines are getting cut off. And he'd go back in and he'd squish them in or edit them a little bit or whatever. And then we'd make another patch, try it again, be like, okay, this sounds good, send it to SHIRO.
Awesome.
Sorry, Greg's saying something in chat. He says, actually, I ended up aborting the note-taking idea and just said, sorry, I didn't realize this, and sending Shadow Mask rough timelines with the takes I like. Okay, well, that's even more streamlined, I suppose. Plus all the raw audio in case some of the takes I picked don't work. So Shadow Mask is in the chat too. So hello to Shadow Mask.
Yeah, I mean, huge shouts to you guys. Seriously. I mean, obviously with a game like this, audio is front and center. Like, and it's of utmost importance. I mean, of course, the directing and the organization and the scripting and all that stuff is incredibly important too, to maintain the essence of those original, the meaning of everything. But then again, I'm thoroughly impressed in Shadow Mask's work as well, because he's a professional audio engineer, and it shows. Like, I was really, really impressed by the work that he did on the game, and kudos and shouts. And we've got, let's see, Edgar and Maria, the game's AI. Those are voiced by Dan Bosley and Crouching Mouse. Crouching Mouse, who is also Kina in Bulk Slash.
That's right.
And then the game's seasoned squadron commanders, Jake, Alan, and Brad, are voiced by Ramir Pascal von Banishite? I don't know how to say that.
I think he's Dutch.
Dutch?
He?
So Ramir Pascal, don't know how to say that, but Von B. And Mike Dent, and then Rocco DeFeo. And then, of course, Brenda, that's the wingmate who keeps an eye out for the squadron, is voiced by Diana Aloko. Am I saying that right? Ayoko or Aloko?
a Loco, I believe, and she did voice Rupia.
Also did Rupia,
in
yeah,
Bulk Slash.
in Bulk Slash. And then Aya, the commander who delivers the mission briefings, and the excellent introduction sequence is voiced by Renee Martin. We got to hear a lot of her voice in a couple SHIRO shows ago. And then of course Pat was able to stream the game. And did you guys were able to talk quite a bit about that too. So I think I definitely recommend, if you guys haven't caught it, go back and watch last week's SHIRO show with Pat streaming Stellar Assault. That was great. And then finally, the Umbrella Pilot is voiced by Rowan Dinkt. Hey, one of our patrons. Shouts to Rowan, you know. And the role of the unnamed pilot is voiced by Galaga. Is that Galaga?
Yeah, his screen name's Galaga.
Screen name's Galaga.
He didn't want to.
Great game, by the way. Great. I did a Galaga tournament at the Christmas party that I went to, and there was one guy. He scored. This one guy came in and scored like 370,000, and I was just like, forget it. I was somewhere around 100,000, and I thought I was pretty hot. He came in and he just like completely stomped on the entire leaderboard. Wow. Great game though. Love it. Another very impressive aspect of this project is the game's sound. Of course, I mentioned Shadow Mask. Put up some examples of the BGM background music that you guys can check out here. I included a video from your guys' Sega Extreme post. And then just shouts to all of you guys. We anticipate this so much. This was like Christmas to me. Like I mentioned, I got a bunch of stuff for Christmas, but honestly, like this was one of the best things I got for Christmas, was the ability to play this thing early. No, I'm not saying that just to be cute. Like it really, I really was looking forward to this, and it really was fantastic. And then subsequent to my playthrough, which wasn't great, I used the light craft, and obviously you have to like really hammer the fire button, and you have to I was told subsequently that it would be easier if I just used the red craft, which is heavier and has like a better payload. It's not as maneuverable, right? But
yeah, I mean, you can succeed with both. The big thing to keep in mind with Stellar Assault is the fighters, the little enemy ships, are often respawning endlessly, and you can ignore them. There are some missions where it's like that's all you have to shoot at is just little enemy ships, and there is a limited number of them. But a lot of times, your main objective is destroying the capital ships, the big ships, which usually have like an orange bracket around them. You have to blow up those to actually proceed in the missions, and you can pretty much ignore enemy fighters. Maybe you shoot them a little bit to keep them off your back.
I figured that out the hard way.
Yeah, I know. I was like watching your stream, and it was kind of torturous.
Tearing out your hair.
Oh, man, I wish he had me on there live, with him while he was playing it, so I could tell him like, ignore the fighters, just keep coming. Like,
but I read your comments. And I was like, okay, this is helpful. I'm glad. I am going to do another playthrough though with the red ship. Try that out because it might be that'll be fun. And then also, you guys discovered a little hack, right? You discovered a little thing like through a YouTube comment, right? That I guess by pressing pause and then pressing the X button, or is it the Y button?
X button. Yeah, there's like a secret third person mode in Stellar Assault. It's not in the manual.
Not in any documentation.
Really anywhere. But yeah, this random person on YouTube said under the video, I don't know how they found out about that. If you pause the game at any time and you press X. Now, pause the game when it's not like in a cutscene or in autopilot mode or anything like that. But if you pause just during normal gameplay and you press X, it will bring the camera out of your cockpit and outside the ship behind it. And if you press X again, you go to a less helpful chase cam mode where it's like the camera kind of sits itself in a random spot and like follows your ship as it flies along. And you can still move your ship around and shoot in that mode, but you don't know where you're going. So it really just kind of looks cool for a couple seconds. Then if you hit X again, you go back to the cockpit. It just cycles. But it is kind of neat playing it in third-person mode. You don't really have a targeting reticle anymore, but it will still lock on to enemies when you get them in what would be your sights. So you can still try to play it that way. It's neat.
I just want to try it out. Yeah, I'm definitely going to stream it again at some point and try that out. But I did get to the last part, the second part of the 5th stage. But yeah, I wiped out because I did not have enough shield. So when I do it again,
it's so hot in that second part when you're inside the base that you have to make sure that you take almost no damage in the first half and you're just killing capital ships.
Yeah.
You need all your shields.
I loved all the voice actors. I thought they were great. I noticed some of the lines.
Doing awesome.
I don't know if I'm right about this, but I noticed that some of the lines changed a bit from when and I don't know if they were ad-libbing a little bit or if they some of the lines changed from when we auditioned, and I really liked it. Like, I liked those changes. One line was like, don't get got, right? And then the guy was just like, don't die. And it was don't die.
Well, especially, and I think that was Ramir Pascal who delivered that line, and with him especially because his character speaks a lot and is kind of like a comic relief character. He says a lot of funny things, and the actor himself has a really good personality, and so we have worked with him a lot on just saying, hey, if this line isn't working for you, say something that's kind of like it, and we'll see if we like it, see if maybe we'll keep it. And I mean, he did come up with some funny stuff, and I think that may have been one thing that he came up with, or maybe I don't remember if Greg suggested just say "don't die."
Yeah,
and then he ran with it, and it sounded good.
It's not just what he says; it's how he says it. It's just it made me laugh, and I was like, "Yeah, this feels right." Especially like I played a little bit of the Japanese version because I have them both on my satiator. Played a little bit of the Japanese version to kind of remind myself of those sequences, and then listen to your version, and I was like, yeah, this feels the same. It's in English and I can understand it, but it feels the same.
The man who originally directed Stellar Assault, he directed the game, who I am blanking on his name off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but he started following me on Twitter. He found out about the project.
I saw that.
He's actually said, oh, how wonderful. Like, he seems like he actually likes it, which is amazingly gratifying to us on the team, because we never reached out to anybody. Thank you, Lacquer. It's Koji Tsuchida.
Koji
the director
Tsuchida,
of Stellar Assault SS. And we never reached out to anybody on Bulk Slash. We were kind of afraid to. We didn't want them to think that we're destroying their work or disrespecting them or something.
They could shut it down. It's like you don't
shut it down.
You don't want them to like shut it down, because then it's like you wouldn't continue just out of respect. I know, it's like, you're just hoping that they approve. So that's awesome. Yeah. Right.
Tsuchida-san was he's been amazing, and he commented once listening to some sample voice clips we posted of like Edgar and Maria, and he said that it sounds just like what they did, the Japanese original. So I mean, if he thinks it sounds just
that's
like
awesome.
It, then I guess we did a good job. Shadow Mask did a good job.
That's awesome.
He's the one who's really working on getting those robot voice effects perfect.
Better like all his posts now, Shadow says.
Yeah.
Anyway, high five to all. Wow, my hand is that's weird. My hand is keying out. Anyway, high fives to all of you guys, and I'm super, super excited, super stoked about this. And it's funny because it is like a dream come true. I did say, and I don't think I had anything to do with this, but you guys did ask me like a year ago, and I did say I would love to see this game done. And I don't know, Knight or somebody said something about that it might not be the easiest project or something. I don't know. So like I didn't get my hopes up, but like I just am crazy stoked that you guys actually ended up doing it. Yeah,
it's a cool game.
It is. It really is.
So
nice.
Yeah, look forward to it in the next several months. We got 2/3 of the game left to do.
2/3 left? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of content.
There's 17 missions. I think you get 15 missions if you get the bad ending, and if you've done secret objectives throughout the game, then you get 2 more missions. So 17, and we've recorded most of the lines. Now a lot of it is just working through them and mastering them, getting them in the game and testing them. So
is there more extensive FMV, or is it pretty much just that intro sequence and then everything else?
Well, technically there's FMV for every briefing.
Oh, that's true. They are all FMV. Yeah. Okay, all right.
So
okay.
Yeah, we've got to do those too.
But is there like a big like
really
ending?
Large.
I've never beaten the game, so is there like a big ending FMV or something like that you guys had to do?
I think there is an ending FMV. I don't know. I have not had my eye on that because we've been focusing on the first 5 missions, so I'm blanking off the top of my head.
Okay.
I know that there is, story that happens in the script, but I can't remember if that's in engine or if it's an FMV cutscene.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
again, shouts. Very excited. Thank you to all of you guys. You're giving an amazing gift to the Saturn community. And if we go to PRGE next year, you can be damn sure that we're going to be promoting the hell out of it at the patch booth. While I was busy writing all these little.
By the way, Lacquerware does confirm that there are late game FMVs, but not a post clear FMV. So.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I guess last up, we should talk about this. You put together this huge article that you've been working on. Really appreciate it. And we have until, I don't know, like 4:30. So we've got time to talk about this. This has been a great year for Saturn. It's not over yet because, of course, the 28th anniversary game competition is just bringing in a ton of great stuff from folks at the last minute. But a lot of the stuff we've seen it worked on over the year. Over the course of the year, and we've seen folks do amazing stuff. So you basically put together a top 10 of like the biggest news items or the biggest things that have happened to Saturn this year, correct?
Yep. Yeah,
Awesome.
I wanted to kind of look at what were the biggest stories, what was the news that made kind of the biggest impact. I don't know. I put it out there in our one of our Discord channels internally. I guess it was the website discussion one. See if anybody wanted to help rank them, and nobody volunteered. So I just kind of came up with my own ranking. So if you disagree, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is just my opinion, and I mean I was changing it until the last minute, figuring out what my order would be. I guess the order isn't that important to begin with. It's really just kind of highlighting, the biggest stories and kind of reflecting on them and shining one more of a light on them.
Yeah, I apologize if I missed that, but I really just wanted this to be your article, and I was totally fine with you choosing. You actually did mention a lot of stuff, and I think you put honorable mentions at the bottom. But I did, yeah. But I was just like, yeah, whatever Dan comes up with is fine. But because you represent a pretty much like a kind of somewhat newcomer to Saturn, right? But you're our guy who's like reporting on the news. Oftentimes you're reporting on just big, news tickets, news items that are happening that are like important that everybody needs to know about. And so this isn't really going to focus on any kind of like long form editorials that we've done or anything like that. This is really just like news that's really impactful or news that's been really important to the Saturn scene. Because the Saturn is kind of having a renaissance of popularity, or I don't even know if it's a renaissance. It's kind of like finally reaching some level of popularity in the West because people are kind of seeking it out and discovering it. So I'm going to let you take this one. I'll kind of scroll it, but I'll let you talk about it. Starting off with the Summer of Games Done Quick.
Yeah, so at number 10, we start off with the Summer Games Done Quick speedrunning event, featuring some Saturn games. They had a speedrunner doing Nights into Dreams and another speedrunner, Aquas, speedrunning Bulk Slash, which I think he has the world record for Bulk Slash. Dude is awesome. Just as an aside, having worked on Bulk Slash's English translation patch, we had to test that game a lot and play it a lot, and I watched an Aquas video to learn how to play it quickly and efficiently. So yeah, thank you to him. He helped out in his own little way with the translation patch. But yeah, so it was really cool that he got Bulk Slash into a featured spot. I mean, it wasn't like super featured. It was in the middle of the night.
Did he stream it in English? Did he stream it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and I linked to the story. So I linked to all the stories that are relevant to all these top 10 in the article if people want to check them out. But I mentioned in there that they did not. He tried to get the English version in there, but the organizers rejected it because they thought there might be some kind of legal issue with that. So that's fine. I understand. And Pochillin, I think, Pochillin streamed Nights into Dreams, which is cool. Obviously, that's right. If you had to pick a mascot game for the Saturn, that would be one of the ones you would consider. So that's pretty cool that
Power Slave as well.
To show that off. Yeah, and then also they got Power Slave Exhumed, and that is the remake of Power Slave for modern consoles. And they had one of the developers from Night Dive Studios on that stream during the speed run, which was really cool. And he talked about their process of making that remake. And he basically revealed during it that they started essentially with the Saturn version. They made the Saturn version, but then added in, because it was better than the PC version. They're very different.
Yes.
And he added in, or they added in, the exclusive levels from the PS1 version of Power Slave. So in a way, this is like the Saturn version, but the ultimate, iteration of that.
Right.
And that got highlighted on GDQ. And I mean, you don't really see Saturn games too often at GDQ. There aren't any for the one that's coming up here in a couple days.
Right.
So it was kind of rare to get Saturn games highlighted on that kind of a stage. So it was neat. Good
Excellent.
Story.
Yeah. So and that's a real mainstream. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is there anything you wanted to say about any commentary you want to make?
I mean, obviously, I feel like Knights is a pretty. I've seen plenty of speed runs and let's plays of Knights and stuff. It's.
Sure.
I mean, definitely, it's like you said. It's the most known, probably well known. I mean, it was one of the most high profile games for Saturn outside of, I don't know, Virtua Fighter 2 or
Right.
Daytona or something like that. So yeah. But I'm always happy for Knights getting any kind of love, because I love it so much. But yeah, no, I'm glad that that Saturn's making more of an appearance in some of these mainstream conventions, mainstream charity events, and yeah, no, it's really cool. I didn't have much to add to what you wrote, but yeah, definitely a relevant news topic that happened this last year in relation to Saturn. And another large kind of event that brings projects from all different platforms, is the Sonic Fan Games.
Yeah,
Sage
Sonic
22.
Amateur Games Expo, or SAGE for short, happens every year, and it's a lot of fan-made Sonic games and hacks of existing Sonic games that fans are doing, and it all just kind of, it's not really a competition. They don't have prizes or rank them or anything. It's just kind of an exhibition, essentially. It's very cool. A lot of that stuff is usually, about the Genesis games, or, maybe even the more modern Sonic games sometimes, or people are making their own Sonic games on PC. You don't see Saturn stuff very often in it, but this year we had two Sonic games that actually do run on Saturn hardware. There's Sonic Ring Worlds, and also a recreation of Sonic Extreme from Voxel.
Right.
And we've covered Voxels pretty extensively. Ring Worlds is still kind of a work in progress. It's from a lot of members of the SHIRO and SEGA Extreme communities.
Right.
But there's, I guess, a little more to show with Sonic Extreme. So we did a little more coverage on that. Hopefully Ring Worlds will come along in 2023 and we can, have more to talk about with that. That would be cool.
Right.
But,
I don't think
and then,
Ring Worlds was released as I guess it was available in this competition. You could download it and run it on your Saturn, right? Yeah. And it was just basically kind of like a simple playground area, right? Not a whole lot to do, but they basically showed that they had the framework for.
It was like a proof of concept that we can get a Sonic running in a 3D environment type of a thing.
Right. Yeah. Fun fact, Voxel has just added his Sonic Extreme to the 28th anniversary game competition. So I'm really glad that he did that, because I mean, it was a lot of work and a really great entry. I'm glad that he was able to add it to the competition so we can vote on it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so that was huge. Absolutely, you're right. There were I don't know if there were like hundreds of entries, but there were a lot. Like I watched the video trailer, there were a lot of entries, but it was nice to have some Saturn representation, and hopefully it's just a sign of things to come. Hopefully it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like we'll start to see more. It's a tough nut to crack. I mean, I don't think that's cliche to say. It's hard getting really getting everything out of the Saturn in terms of like the RAM bus bottleneck, and in terms of like cramming stuff into RAM and stuff. Every developer that I've talked to has said that it's like powerful depending on how you look at it, but at the same time there are some definite things that are kind of like a pain in the butt that you have to deal with, and you just have to find creative ways to work around them. So I kind of feel like the barrier to entry has been so high, up until now. We've seen many more homebrew Dreamcast efforts than we have Saturn efforts for that, even though the Dreamcast is a newer console than the Saturn.
Right.
And it just took so long for folks to really crack it. But the cool thing is, like, through efforts like XL2 with his with his projects and the stuff that Anthony Knight of Dragon has done, like, this entire community has helped build, I guess, like a knowledge base. I wouldn't exactly call it a code base, but I mean, they're sharing code and they're sharing tools and stuff like that, helping to build a knowledge base that makes it easier to develop stuff on this platform. And so I'm really hoping, as just somebody on the sidelines, enjoying, with my popcorn, just watching to see what happens. I'm just hoping that we see more of this stuff and more folks who have some working programming knowledge start to dip their toe in, Yeah. So excellent. That was an excellent one. And then again, another year of full English translation patches. I see that the cover here is Tokyo Highway Battle.
Yeah, number 8 on the list. I've got kind of the ongoing story of English translation patches coming out for the Saturn. I mean, there were hardly any just 4 or 5 years ago, and now we have a dozen projects being worked on at once.
Absolutely.
A few of them came out this year. Several more are being worked on now, including the one I'm on, Stellar Assault. So maybe even some that haven't been announced yet that people have been toiling away on. So it's a lot of really exciting stuff, and I think it's worth highlighting that. As I say in the article, I'm sorry if it's kind of a cop-out to kind of lump all of the translation patches together instead of like picking one and saying, okay, this is a top story for this top 10 list.
Yeah, no, I think it's nice that you just grouped them. This is everything that we've had over this year. That's great.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing story. And I mean, I don't know if any of them have had the impact of like, people finally getting to play Sakura Wars or something like that. But I mean, we've had some that have been very cool. Like I highlighted here, we've got Drift King 97. I think a lot of us had a lot of fun playing that. That game wasn't on my radar at all. And then all of a sudden, Malenko came out of nowhere and started working on it this year and finished it this year. And, you highlighted it on the SHIRO show, and rightfully so. It's a good translation that really adds something to the game, because otherwise you don't know what anybody's saying or what all these parts mean in the part shop for the cars.
The tuning, I mean, I'm biased. I like Malenko. I really like racing games, and I love the Tokyo Extreme Racer games. So I was always going to like this project, and it is one of my favorite of the past year, and of which there have been many great projects. But yeah, I mean, Drift King 97, I own a copy in Japanese. I've played it for years, and now that it's in English, it's just even better. So but yeah, shouts to everyone.
Just you gotta highlight Grandia, which I think isn't that Trekkies has been working on that for a
absolutely
while.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's taking the translation from the PS1 version that Working Design, or that Sony did, I guess.
Right.
But it was still a ton of work, clearly, to actually get it working correctly in the Saturn. And he finally finished that up this year, and that's great. And people swung around and revisited Ninpen Manmaru, the Penguin 3D platformer game, which was like the very first English translation for the Saturn back in 2002, but it was incomplete. And finally, some members of SEGA Extreme came around and finished it up this year.
Right.
Polished it up. We got Phantasmagoria, which I think that had been worked on for a couple of years on SEGA Extreme. That finally, the person, I'm sorry I'm blanking on your name, but they cracked the code on it and
let's see here.
And swapped all that English video into I don't think we did an article on it, so you're not going to find one in there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The only time we have mentioned it on the site outside of this top 10 is I think Peter's Halloween roundup.
Okay,
I don't know why we didn't write a story on it. We should have.
Lack of manpower. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure we mentioned it on the show, though. I'm sure it was mentioned on the show.
Yeah, I believe that's the thing is, we mention a lot of stuff on the show. We talk about a lot of stuff on the show that doesn't have an article component. And
That's
then
true.
in hindsight, I often ask, like, why didn't we write an article on that? Because people aren't going to be able to, like,
Go through a show,
they're not
an
going to
old
be able
show.
to, like, exactly, dog ear, something that was said on a Shiro show. But yeah.
Greg asked if Phantasmagoria is by Kitchen 34. Maybe.
I don't
guess I
have
can
I don't have the answer to that
check
right
real
off
quick.
the bat. But yeah, there were even Emerald did Bastard Broke, of course, and you had efforts on Terra Fantastica by Malenko as well. Very prolific. He's also doing Saturn Bomberman Fight, which is one of my favorite games, and started work on that in 2022. Shining Force 3.
Yes, Kitchen 34 was, along with SED and LG30, all did work on Phantasmagoria. So thank you to all of them for doing that.
And Shining Force 3, even though I know that this most recent update, Anthony said he didn't have as much to do with this as the rest of the team, but the Shining Force 3 English translation patch version 20.24 was released recently in November, and that's another project that's just been being worked on for over a decade now, I want to say, but it's I love the fact that there's such a dedication to it that they're continuing to work on it. They haven't given up on it. Sorry?
Almost 2 decades.
Almost 2 decades? Okay, I stand corrected. It really has been. Yeah. See, now that just is a testament to how old I am and how like I just can't I don't realize that we're not in like the 2010s anymore. Yeah, you guys started that in the mid 2000s, I guess.
Yeah, I started in 2004.
2004. Wow. Okay. Before the Nintendo DS was even really, or wait, like almost at the same time as the freaking Nintendo DS. That's crazy. All right. Well, yeah, we do. It's 4:07. We got to roll with this stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
so number 7 on the top 10 list is new audiences exposed to Saturn games as they come to modern platforms. This is another, I kind of took a trend of the whole year and lumped a number of stories together.
All the City Connection stuff, right?
Yeah, well, it's not just City Connection, as I kind of run down here. There were a lot of companies doing this year. You got Night Dive with their Power Slave Exhumed remake. You got Forever Entertainment. They made the Panzer Dragoon remake a couple years ago, and this year they came out with House of the Dead, which you could say that was originally an arcade game, but I mean it was also a prominent Saturn game. Capcom put out those fighting game collections of Darkstalkers and Cyberbots and stuff. And again, those are like arcade games, but they were also prominently Saturn games. And, those are now easier to play for people with modern platforms. Treasure and Livewire brought Radiant Silvergun to the Switch. And this is the first time in 11 years that it's gone anywhere. Last time was the Xbox 360, and that was the first time since the Saturn Radiant Silvergun had been re-released. So that was pretty big news. And then City Connection has been putting out several Saturn games that are like the original Saturn games running in what we believe is a modified SSF emulator that's been kind of ported to run on the Switch or the PS4 or Steam or the Xbox One. So and those games have been like Galactic Attack, Elevator Action Returns, Cleopatra Fortune, slew of Suchi Pai games, kind of a little more obscure in there aside from Galactic Attack, but it still is appreciated, and it's cool that like it feels like this is more evidence of the Saturn having a renaissance period here, because you've got all of these Saturn games that are actually getting sold again.
Right. I mean, the fact that they keep it up and they keep introducing new releases means they must be making enough of a return on the investment. People are buying this stuff, and that's great. Because years ago, Pat and I said, if you see something like if you see Sega license this stuff or allow others people to put it out, or they work on it, support it, don't if you have the opportunity to actually buy Sega games now, especially Saturn games, take that opportunity, because you're sending a message, and it's obviously worked because they're continuing to put this stuff out, so that's great. It only helps.
I was gonna say, this is probably the biggest year yet for Saturn games appearing on modern platforms.
Absolutely. And I mean, part of it is it could be indicative of, the generation that's going back, I guess, to
maybe
for nostalgia purposes, but a lot of these games aren't necessarily games that folks would have had any nostalgia for, right? A lot of these locked in Japan games wouldn't necessarily be something that folks are necessarily reliving, but more or less awesome games that we didn't get back in the day that folks are like, awesome, I get to play this on my Switch now,
like Dokusei, I forgot to mention that, that got a whole remake on Steam this year, and that was a Japanese only dating sim for the Saturn, and I think the PC-98 or something before that. So, who's gonna have nostalgia for that? But people are into visual novels more these days, so they probably thought this would have a chance, and they let a Saturn game shine once again. It's cool.
Absolutely.
So number 6.
This has got to be my favorite, my personal favorite of the year. I mean,
sorry, it was only number 6.
No, it's totally fine. No, that I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff, and I realize that we're a small community. Saturn fans are a small community as it is, and then the folks who are enjoying or engaging in the online stuff are even a smaller niche of that niche. But the thing is, number 6. Number 6.
Revised Saturn online play is my number 6 story of the year.
Yeah,
and you're right. It is kind of a smaller subset. And I guess I didn't have it higher because it's still being worked on. It's not finalized yet. There's still a little ways to go.
It's go ahead.
And it's such a small subset of people playing it right now that its impact feels a little limited. But I mean, it does have huge promise for the near future. This may be a bigger story next year in 2023.
Here's the thing: if you've been one of the folks on the Netlink roster, we have a hashtag or an @Netlink roster on our Discord, right? And it consists of 24 people or something. If you're one of those people, it seems like a much bigger deal than everybody else on the outside of that, right? Because so I'm just saying, anecdotally, to me, it's like a big deal because I have seen all the way back to the VoIP, method that Joe and Zaiden also helped pioneer, the VoIP method that was really poor in terms of performance, but it got Saturn back online. And he's stuck with it this entire way. And he's also roped Anthony into it as well, who's working on a special OS for it and also working on a serial cable solution for it. There's just so much exciting.
Need a modem.
So much exciting stuff going on in terms of getting the Saturn hardware back online. And to me, it's just one of those things that breathes new life into the hardware. And I really love the hardware side of things. So it's just, I love seeing that more folks are able to get their Saturns back online, even if it's direct dial, I understand. But with the new OS, I actually, Derek A-Team, he demonstrated, I think, in a video where he got the Dream Pi and he went online and browsed the internet with it. So technically it is capable of going online through the use of the Dream Pi. But
nice.
But yeah, so you can browse the internet with it, albeit very slowly. But you can access pages that are built for that kind of web browser, and you can also direct dial folks. And the latest revision, which was just uploaded and shared to the Saturn the tools or utilities section of the competition, is a further refinement of 4.3. Is it 0.43 or 4.3? I don't know, but of Joe's tunneling. 4.3, yeah.
4.3.
Which is just even that much better, And then I believe Zaiden went ahead and updated the images, the actual patched game images on the Dream Pipe. So I'm just so excited about that one. I can't tell those guys just how much I appreciate them for doing that, And I know it wasn't easy. I know it's been a lot of hard work, but it's been amazing. Go ahead. You take this one. Emulators, both hardware and software, make strides.
Okay, so our number 5 story of the year is, as you said, emulators have made strides this year. This is, I think, my last entry in this top 10. That's just kind of a compilation of a year-long trend. But we've had a lot of updates this year that I thought was worth highlighting to not only our software-based emulators like SHIRO and Mednafen, but also, hardware-based solutions like we've got the Fenrir ODE just came out with, a couple months ago, a piece of hardware that lets you, you don't have to figure out which pinout you've got for your Saturn. You just buy this one unit and pop it in, and you're good to go. You don't have to, worry about it from there. It's going to work. And that really simplifies things for people, I think, and it probably simplifies, his stocking situation too, I'm sure. And then exactly. You've got you don't have to manufacture 2 separate things, just one thing.
Right.
And then you've got the Mister. The Mister is hardware emulation for a variety of consoles and arcade cabinets, all sorts of things that people can develop cores for. And someone finally, SRG, finally made a core for the Saturn. And I mean, it's still work in progress. A lot of things are glitchy or don't work, but it does work to some extent. And this year was the year that brought us the Saturn core. And so that's big
and he's
news.
been working furiously on it all year. Like despite war and everything, been like hammering away at these cores and getting the optimization and getting the compatibility up. Despite all that, it's just been amazing, to see that happen.
I mean, with all these developments, it's just making it easier to play Saturn games in ways other than putting a disc into your original console. If your CD drive doesn't work anymore, if you just can't afford an original Saturn, if you don't have the space for it, whatever, you've got options, and those options keep getting better every year, and 2022 is no different.
Absolutely. So huge year for emulation and FPGA implementation. Awesome. Okay, next up, this one is more specific. This one is like the Kenji Tasaki interview.
Yeah, I originally was just going to do another compilation thing where it's like, the SHIRO website, all the guys at the SHIRO kind of made some news this year. And then I thought, no, this is kind of a big enough thing. I should probably break it out into its own thing. So number 4 is Kenji Tosaki offers insights into SEGA peripherals that he designed. He was the peripheral development manager for SEGA in the 90s. And he worked on the 3D control pad that was designed specifically for Knights. He worked on the Stunner, also known as a virtual gun. And he kind of revealed a little secret to us that there's a space inside the handle to put batteries in there to give it some weight. The batteries don't do anything, they don't power anything. It's just to make it feel better to hold as a gun, which is cool. And he talked about the unreleased visor. It's like a virtual reality headset.
Right.
And he provided all of this, all these designs, all of this artwork that you're scrolling through here right now on the video.
Here he is right there.
Yeah.
A much younger Kenji.
Wearing it. Yeah, and I mean, it's just so cool that he took the time, and offered himself to SHIRO on our Facebook page to answer questions and give us all this artwork, all these insights. It was very cool. And I mean, he really did reveal some things that no one knew before. So that's what made this kind of a bigger news story. This actually broke some things, broke some news that no one knew about SEGA before. And it was thanks to him talking to us. So, big thanks to him for doing that.
Absolutely. And he was in the hospital when he did this too. Like it was I won't go into specifics, but he just had a lot of time on his hands because he was laying in a hospital bed and he was just like, yeah, we got lucky. It was the stars aligned, But here you have like the mega visor that they used at like theme parks, and you can definitely see the DNA of that in the virtual visor. It's got the same kind of like headpiece. It's got the same kind of adjustment thing in the back. And the front, actually, that black part on the front is actually a flip up visor that would act as like an augmented reality. They planned on not just having it be a video visor, but also augmented reality. So you could see through it and have images like show up around you. So it was a very early implementation of superimposed, augmented reality as well. So yeah, it was really cool. We talked very long interview, talked about personal life stuff and everything. So it was cool. Got lucky with that. Yeah, definitely. But next up.
Okay, so next thing, our number 3 on this year's top stories was Retrobit announcing new wireless analog controllers for the Saturn. They had teased this a good couple years ago. They were going to do this, and then it seemed like it was a project that was just dead in the water. We hadn't heard anything about it, and all of a sudden, when SHIRO went to PRGE and it had a Saturn booth there, by the way, which I kind of mentioned in this little bit too, because that was pretty cool to have a Saturn room at the Portland Retro Game Expo.
It was
that
fun.
was something new and different to put Saturn in front of eyeballs and give people some good memories. But at that expo, they did talk with SHIRO about this new controller that they're going to bring in the spring. They plan on for 2023,
mm-hmm.
and they let you test it out in the Saturn room.
They did
with whatever game you wanted, and you said that it did feel not quite, but real close, pretty good analog.
Yeah, upon a visual, like my first thought was, wow, those look like Alp sticks. Those look like the sticks in the Switch, in the Nintendo Switch, you know? And my heart fell a little bit because I'll be honest with you, I love the Nintendo Switch as a console. My son plays it a lot, and he puts it through its paces, right? And so whenever I go to play like Mario Kart or something like that, I'll notice that the left stick has drift, you know, and that my Mario is just constantly drifting, and I have to fight against it, you know. I can't, and you can't really like center it. You can't like do the whole thing where you just like put the control down and have it like center. It's just always going to suffer from drift no matter what, you know. And you know, I guess it's just the way that those sticks are designed. They're cheap and they're plentiful and they work fairly well for a certain amount of time, but then they ultimately have to be replaced. And I do believe that that's the same sticks that we see here, and that was one of the biggest misgivings that folks had between seeing the old teased version, which used like the big nubby like PS2 sticks, you know, it looked like basically looked like PS2 sticks, versus the change to this. And I definitely think that it's a pros and cons list. You know, it's kind of like a compromise. Like those older sticks stuck out so much, like nubby sticks that stuck out so much, you couldn't throw the controller in a bag or like put it down face down and not have them just get completely jacked, right? And so that would be a concern, is just having them be, you know, pushed in one direction constantly while they're in a bag or something like that, and then they would get stuck that way or they would jam up and stuff. These are much more sleek. It like literally kind of has a recess to it, and they just kind of follow the sleek outline of the pad. So in that way, yeah, a lot of folks are going to appreciate that. But the sticks themselves, at the end of the day, they are what they are, and so I don't know if the pads are cheap enough. You know, maybe they could easily replace the whole pad, or maybe you can buy a new Alps stick. I noticed that you can actually buy replacement Alps sticks from the company. You'd have to solder them on, you know. So that's just my only concern, because honestly, they feel quite good. I mean, they feel exactly what you're used to with your Switch, you know, playing Cotton 2 on the Switch, or playing Breath of the Wild. It's the same feeling. And literally, if you're coming from the 3D control pad to this, the only thing you really have to get used to is the travel, you know, because it's like, with the 3D control pad, it's got tons of travel, versus this is like tinier movements equal bigger results, you know? So you it takes like 10 or 15 minutes to get used to that. And then I'm playing games like Knights, and I'm having fun, and I'm doing quite well, much better than I would with a D-pad. But no, for like hardcore Uber 3D control pad fans, this is not going to meet that level of expectation ever. And I don't think you're going to find anything out there that does really perform the same as the 3D control pad.
This, when these things come out,
they're wireless. Or what?
Well, it's wireless.
Yeah,
that is nice. But also, you know, there were only so many original 3D analog controllers made for the Saturn. And
that's true.
They're going to get they're going to be breaking more and more. They'll
Yes.
be harder to get. They'll be more expensive. And so these are new analog controllers that work with the Saturn, with original hardware. So this is
Absolutely.
going to make some kind of analog compatibility for the Saturn more accessible to people going forward. And
Absolutely.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I want to say is that these shoulder triggers are digital; they're not analog. They have plenty of travel, about 3 millimeters of travel on them, 2 to 3 millimeters of travel, which seems like it would be well suited to an analog sensor, but they're digital. And I think some folks are going to complain about that. But that said, again, I'm gonna buy one day one. I did love the pad. I think that it's great for casual gaming. It's great for taking to a convention or something. If you lose it, it's not a huge thing lost. You know what I'm saying? Versus if I lost a 3D control pad at a convention because somebody just kind of like yoinked it's removable, right?
Yeah.
And they're not cheap. They're like $60 for a really roughly used one. I think they're much more than that for one that's in good condition. You might still be able to buy them cheap on like the white Japanese ones on the Yahoo Auctions Japan, but I don't know, and I can't.
Yeah, they're a little cheaper if you import from Japan, but then you're paying shipping.
But you're paying shipping, and it's like you said, it's a finite resource. There's not, so yeah, it's the best thing about these is that there's one more option for Saturn fans, and that. I have utmost respect for Retrobit for actually paying attention and showing Saturn love. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't see anybody else doing it. It's not like we have a ton of choices to choose from. So the fact that they stepped up and did this and made a controller that I would give it a B plus. I would give it like an 80 to 85%. It's like a really good control, good controller, and I'm excited to own one. Oh, and they're a little bit heavier too, which I really liked. I like the fact that they increased the weight and the feel of it so that it's just a little bit more like you could hit somebody with it. It's got a more premium feel in your hands than like the previous Retrobit pads. So there's that as well. Nice.
So moving on.
This is a serious one. And a sad one.
Yeah, it is. Number 2 on the top stories list is that Sega releases the Genesis Mini 2 and through it reveals Rieko Kodama's death. And that really sent reverberations throughout anyone interested in video games, I think, because she worked for Sega for so long and worked on so many highly influential games, from the very first Phantasy Star to one of the most beloved Dreamcast games, Skies of Arcadia. She's just touched so much. And I saw just recently on Twitter someone in Japan who works at Sega still said that he kind of worked under Kodama, and she had in recent years, she hadn't really been working on specific games, but she had been spending a lot of her time archiving Sega's older games and trying to preserve its legacy. And I mean, I've got to love that, I mean, we all are here talking about an old Sega console, so we love old Sega stuff, and it's cool that she was trying to preserve it in the last years of her life. They put in the credits of the Genesis Mini 2 that she in loving memory or something like that of Rieko Kodama, and people were like, is that a mistranslation? What are they talking about?
Exactly.
On Twitter, and then someone at Sega replied that yes, she did die several months beforehand in spring of this year. And that's really too bad. She was
she was young.
She was young. She was in her 60s.
Yeah, early 60s. And
or 59, yes, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
59.
She wasn't even 60. She didn't even reach 60. I wouldn't exactly call her like a hidden figure. I mean, a lot of folks who knew of her, but still, for as many people knew of her, there are a lot of folks out there, I feel, who enjoyed the games that she touched and didn't know who she was. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And that just speaks to the fact that like gaming and game design and just the game industry has been male dominated for many years. But she's one of those like incredibly influential female figures in game history, and so it's just she, like, I don't think people really realize like how many important games she had a hand in, you know. I know it's not one of her most high profile games, but Deep Fear is one that she directed, and I love Deep Fear. Like, I'm a huge Deep Fear fan. But that was a later one. But I mean, you know, Skies of Arcadia, of course, and the Phantasy Star series.
And she had a hand in Magic Knight Rayearth as well.
Magic Knight Rayearth, absolutely.
Prominent Saturn game as far as Saturn games go.
Yeah, so definitely, like, she will be missed for sure, and I hope that she inspires, you know, other girl game designers, you know, because I think that's like more of a thing now, you know. I mean, my wife is an engineer, and she enjoys engineering, and she even enjoys when her firm like takes on like a game related project, you know. But it's just not something that girls really came up doing compared to, you know, what does she say? You know, her boss always says, oh, well, the boys used to play with the circuits and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like, she's like, I would have too if I was exposed to that stuff at a young age. So I just feel like it's really good for folks to kind of see these figures and have it be a normal thing, you know, that more girls in the community should get into game design. I'm sorry if I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but I just really have a lot of respect for her, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a big loss.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Okay, so moving on to a slightly lighter note, what I thought was the number one story of the year, to the point where I wrote 3 stories in 3 days on it because news kept evolving with it, was Sacred Pools having its prototypes see the light of day. Yeah, you know, this is
we kept learning more and more about it.
Yeah, it was highly publicized back in the 90s when the Saturn was alive, you know, the first time around, I guess you could say. And it was something that SEGA of America was producing themselves. It was an FMV adventure game that they said was going to be more mature and have sexual elements and this, and violence and this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And they threw a huge lavish party at an E3 for it, and then it disappeared. It was kind of lambasted at the time by the press for being strange and not very fun, and then it just got quietly canceled. And you know, SHIRO wrote, I think it was you, Dave, you wrote a story a year ago on SHIRO saying, you know, here's the rundown on Sacred Pools, this really interesting thing that never came out. Wouldn't it be cool if we ever saw it again? Sure enough, a year later, here it is.
Right.
We've got Sacred Pools playable.
And I don't know if that...
Not finished for him, but close. You know, it was pretty far along.
Exactly. I don't know if that article that I wrote a year ago had anything to do with like the recent attempt to uncover any of this. But it would be cool if it did. But that said, like, it's just amazing that we finally got it, you know. There were issues for sure. There were problems with this game. But huge shouts to Retro Dad and Modern Lad. It's one of his favorite. Like, he admits it's just his genre. It's one game that he's always had an interest in, and he has gone to great lengths to really tear the game apart and try to like figure out how to play it so that for other people's benefit. Even if they're just
videos on his
got a lot of
channel.
videos, and just recently he found a cheat where it basically unlocks all of the items, so it makes the game infinitely playable. You can now, I don't remember what the cheat is, and I would have to probably, I wanted to squeeze an article in, but I didn't have the time. But yeah, he essentially found that through a certain combination of buttons or whatever, that you can not only unlock all of the items. Oh, you know what? It's something really simple. You know the blue SEGA logo when you load up the Saturn? Yeah. You know, it's something as simple as like holding the Z button down at the SEGA logo and just keeping it held down all the way until it goes to the game loading screen, and then you let go. And then when you get into the game, you have all the items, and you also have a quick warp function where you can warp to any area in the game. So, and I guess that they use that for debugging, obviously, right? You know, because even the folks who were making the game realized it was like really easy to die in the game, and there are a lot of cheap deaths, and it's hard to get the items and stuff. So but yeah, it's a piece of gaming history and Saturn gaming history. So yeah, it's phenomenal that we got it, you know.
It's crazy that it would resurface in 2022 all these years later.
Yeah, shouts to Gaming Alexandria, preservationists at Gaming Alexandria, who kind of really followed through and pushed for that. We're able to get in touch with the folks who had it to dump it properly. But yeah, And I actually, when it comes to dumping it properly, I don't know that it's actually been like redumped like that, like, you know, that properly, but it's available, you know.
I'm sure to work.
Yeah, it seems to work. I know the folks at Redump would love to get their hands on it so they can like definitely dump it properly, you know, and make sure all the checksums match and stuff. But for what it's worth, we have it playable in at least as much as folks were able to experience it back at E3 96, and there was like this huge like VIP party and stuff like that. They spent a lot of money on the production of this game, and they also blew a ton of money on like the promotion of this game. But the game itself, you know, like when you actually come to play it, it leaves something to be desired. But and I think that mostly comes down to the programmers. Not the actors did a great job. The production was actually really good. The set designs were cool. It had a vibe, you know. It was just that the code monkeys, I guess, you know, had a hard time stitching it all together and making it all work, you know. But you do have some honorable mentions that we should shoot through before we have to read off our patrons.
Yeah, I considered a lot of different stories for this top 10 before settling on the ones I did. And so some of the ones I kind of left out, but maybe are still worth mentioning, is Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic and of Knights, being arrested for insider trading. And I guess he's just been charged recently. He's been indicted. So that's not going well for him.
No.
We've got Merzik invented the SD loader, where you can plug a little device into your controller 2 port with an SD card in it, and you can run a little bit of software off of it, but its main use, at least right now, is for backing up saves. Loading saves onto your Saturn from the SD card and pulling them off onto the SD card to back them up. So it's kind of another way to do that if you don't have like a satiator or something like that. We had 3 different games that were all sort of released, but not really. Like, we got to see playthroughs of them by people who own playable copies of the games.
Right.
But they didn't put those copies out for everybody else to play. They just made us watch their playthroughs. And so that's Monica's Castle, Rensa, Love Chain, and then also Prize Fighter, which was a digital pictures joint. And it's you could kind of put all 3 of those together in sort of a trend. We had 3 different games that, you know, we had never seen before for the Saturn, and now we at least have footage of it, so that's neat. Something kind of cool.
Okay, and then let's see here, Soul Hackers 2.
So Soul Hackers 2, Soul Hackers, of course, was a Saturn game, originally a Japanese exclusive, of course, and it got an honest to God sequel all these years later in 2022. Sega made Sega and Atlas, owned by Sega, made a Soul Hackers 2, and it doesn't play really like the first Soul Hackers, I guess. It shares some thematic elements, that sort of thing. People were a little disappointed with it, but it's still cool that they made it. You know, it's still sort of bringing some recognition again to this Saturn game. It's cool. And then there were a couple of SHIRO related things that, you know, like I said, I was going to kind of make into a big SHIRO makes news thing before kind of separating them out. The SHIRO magazine issue 1 came out this year. After you guys have been working on it for a good year. So that was pretty cool, and it turned out great, if I might say myself. You know, I loved it. I think a lot of people.
We're working on issue 2 right now. We are working on it. It's a work in progress for sure, but we have intentions of making another one. Yeah, so it's just we're also in the process of getting new issues in so that we can ship them out to more people. You know.
And then this last honorable mention, which I almost made it its own post as well, was the Virtual Cop documentary that Pandemonium did, because that kind of broke ground a little bit too. You know, he had developer interviews all at once, which was just amazing. Talking to all these people who originally worked on this port, and getting a lot of neat insight into its creation. Clearly, Pandemonium loves Virtua Cop. It shows through his 4.5 hours of video that he put together.
Exactly.
But it's a great watch. You know, it might take a couple of sessions of watching it, but it's worth it. It's awesome. So
yeah, it's 4 hours and 25 minutes. But it is like it's amazing. Like the amount of information that it divulges about the game and explains like how it worked is just insane. Yeah, it definitely was probably his most thorough and best, documentary yet. And I mean, he's done some bangers, I mean, like I really loved the Chris Tolman one about virtual racing. That was one of my favorite, but yeah, this is definitely up there.
So that was our 2022.
That was it
in Saturn news.
Yep.
So it's been a big year, and might have another big year next year. We'll see. We'll be here for it though.
We will be here for it, and we, stay tuned to SEGA Saturn SHIRO.com for more news. Dan Thrax has really helped us out writing articles, and he's been clutch with a lot of that stuff since Pat and I, have gotten really busy with the magazine and stuff, and haven't always been able to report. You've definitely covered a lot of our blind spots, so I really appreciate you too, Dan.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to. It's been fun writing for the site and getting the word out about cool Saturn things.
Absolutely. And folks, you can follow along on our website. There's also a link to the podcast. We do bi-weekly episodes of Editor's Corner. We also have the mainline cast, which just got recorded recently. We're going to have another episode there. The last mainline episode we did was Dragon Force 1 and 2. They did a phenomenal job covering that. There's another Editor's Corner coming out this coming Wednesday. It'll go public, so watch for that. And then, of course, SHIRO Show every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. That's what you're watching right now. But I mean,
store, get some merch.
Yep, go to the merch. There you go.
Right
yeah, you got the Threadless store, which we do have designs here, and I need to make more, and I keep saying that, so I'm becoming a bit of a broken record, but I only have so much time. But there's also a link here to Pandemonium. You can enjoy all the wonderful videos that he's put out. Of course, he is our fellow SHIRO, so we love to help promote his stuff. There is a Netlink page, but I don't really recommend folks visit it yet because we need to update it. A lot has happened since I wrote this, and the folks working on the Netlink stuff, they're going to make like an ultimate guide, and we'll get it up there as soon as it's available. You guys can support us on Patreon if you want. If you like what we do and you want to support us financially, we really appreciate it. You can support us at $1, $3, $5, $10, $20. I think there are like several tiers, and if you support us at 10 or 20, you get your name shouted on the site. You also get certain perks like merch at cost and stuff. But even if you support us for like $1, or I forget which tier, I think it's the $5 tier that they get the access to our like private chat. We have a private chat in general, or in the SHIRO Discord, where you guys can just kind of come and be a part of the inner circle or whatever you want to call it. But honestly, everyone, be a part of our Discord server. We would love to have you as a member of our Discord community. We talk about a lot of fun Saturn stuff all the time. I'm not always in there, but like there's always somebody to talk to about Saturn stuff, and there's tons of knowledgeable people in our community. So it's just really a wonderful place to come and share ideas and ask questions, and everyone is welcome. We got social links here, friends of the show, and also a donate button on the website where you can just do a one-time donation if you want to do that. You don't have Patreon or you're not on Patreon, you can still do a donation to the site if you want. But other than that, that's it. I want to go ahead and read off and thank our patron supporters who have supported us at the $10 or up tier. You've got Sega Steve, you got Stone Man, Justin, we've got A Murder of Crows, we've got Gem Clash or Rank, Cerulean, Robert Ramsey, Nutrageous, Blue Moon 95, Tanuki Trev, Johannes Fetz, Rowan Dinkt, famous for being in the Stellar Assault localization, right?
That's right.
Rowan Dinkt, right?
Yeah, he's in chat too. Hi, Rowan.
Hey, Rowan. Derek Pasquarella, A-Team, love that guy. Shadow Mask, sound designer and engineer extraordinaire. Mamdu, Memphis.
Also
Emerald Nova, the coordinator and organizer of the Sega Extremes game contest.
Yep.
And then, of course, rounding it out with Young Money Swee. So we love all you guys. Thank you so much for your support. You guys help keep the lights on. and you really have helped fund a lot of little projects and a lot of little things that and have helped give us a little bit of financial cushion as well for anything that comes along that we might need money for. We definitely appreciate you guys. And to all of you who have just liked the show or shared it on social media, we really appreciate that as well. And until next time, this is, let me see, let me close down I've got so much light in my eyes that I can't see anymore. Okay, let's take the web page down here. Well, anyway, until next time, it's been SaturnDave and Danthrax reminding you that you must play SEGA Saturn.
You must play SEGA Saturn.
Till next time, we'll catch you later. Okay, see ya.
SEGA Saturn しろ